Hello. Hi. It's completely fine, Andrea. We do this to relax, so people are usually not typing that much. Yeah, it's Easter, so I thought Bun Bun should be on screen from the start. But yeah, um, people usually don't write much because we are just here to relax and just have kind of a reset of the week. So I'm not getting mad that people aren't here. Yeah, and then there's MDH Bun. Have you seen MDH Bun? There we have MDH Bun. Holy fuck! It's simply too warm every fucking where. Yeah. Like it's 12 degrees. Like how the fuck are we supposed to survive in this temperature? You. Yeah, it's fine. It's completely fine. I love the cold, to be honest, so I'm very happy when it's cold. It's so much easier to sleep and to relax and just to get stuff done when it's colder. Yeah, I just feel like 12 degrees in my apartment is enough for me to turn the air conditioner on. So we dance, everyone. Come on, boogie with us. The people back in hate. Take me down at every resort. That's what people back in hate. Have a nice lurk, Andrea. Very nice to see you in here. And remember to poke boyfriend from me. Just a little annoying poke in the side. Oh, welcome in, Classic Dragon Coffee. Very nice to see you here. I hope you're very well here at this lovely holiday we call Easter. Yeah, there you got 2 for 1. So yeah, today it feels like a good day, and it feels like a good day for reading. and for everyone to just relax. So hopefully we can get through the next chapter, which is chapter 11, which is called A Knife in the Dark. But if you guys look at it, we are almost halfway through the book already. And imagine we have only gone for 3 months. Yeah. When you're here, I usually get like 1 chapter. When you're not here, I get like 2 chapters. And we also hit our sub goal, which was really nice. 2 seconds, guys. Come on, everyone, join in. We need to get to the drop zone. And now we have a patate, so I can take it. Haha. Yes, you did, Mr. Thard. You dropped the patate. Well, this was a new patate which fell out from your branches. That was what they were called. Woo! Oh my god, is he really gonna fuck it up? Oh, we landed beside each other. That's cute. Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of boring. No, mom. Well, if it was rigged, then you would have hit the bush with the Easter eggs and not me flying all around the everywhere. Hi, Stevie. Welcome in. Very nice to see you in here. I am just finishing my chocolate muffin my mom baked for her birthday celebration. So that's nice. As I couldn't get a chocolate egg because they're fucking expensive apparently. I think they had a good day, my mom inclusive. Me, I was like, I'm here 2 hours, then I'm not gonna be here. But that is mostly because I can't be around people for too long. Then my brain goes, bleh, and we don't like that. Because then I couldn't be here today if my brain went, bleh. And we want me to be here because we all want to hear Lord of the Rings, I think. I think that is why you guys are coming here every Sunday. Oh, I know what I need to upload. Hmm. That one. Go away. Hmm. Mm. That one. No, this isn't yawns. I haven't yawned yet. But it will happen. Oh. Nice. Then you have music for the whole stream. Oh. Hi Grant. Sorry, my memory is fucking shit, so I can't remember if you have had another username before. I actually think I remember something like that. But well, welcome in, and we were actually just about to start with the reading of Lord of the Rings today. So I hope you will stay and enjoy it just as everyone else does. Oh, nice. Yeah, maybe I will get to reading those books at some point. But at the moment, we are doing the Lord of the Rings, and we are about halfway through the book. But in here, we only read once a week, and it's always Sunday, and always the same time, except that the we had just changed to summertime, so now it's +2 instead of +1. But that's it. That's the only change there will be to my readings. But also on my channel when I'm offline, it always say what time it is and what day it is that we are reading. So if you're in doubt, you can also always go to my channel and see what it says. I can show you guys what it says. Because I have it right here. Yeah, yours not supposed to be there. I need to there. And sorry, Mr. Thard, it's your commander isn't working right now because I've just moved the picture. So let's see. Photos up. Yeah. So it will always say this. Her? Interesting. Okay, then we go with this one instead. So it will be one of these. And you can see here, they're mostly the same. The only thing different is the +1 or +2 down here. So these will always be on my stream when I'm or on my channel when I'm offline. So you can always go in and see there what it is that we are, or what day and time we are actually doing things. But it's very nice to see you all in here. But now it's time to get to the book and the beautiful bookmarks that May Creature have made for me. It's easier for you guys to see it like this. So yeah, if there's anything that's too loud or anything that's not loud enough, please just say. Because it's important for me that you guys actually hear it right. Welcome back. Chapter 11. A Knife in the Dark. As they prepared for sleep in the inn at Bree, darkness lay over Buckland. A mist strayed in the dells and along the river bank. The house at Crick Hollow stood silent. Fatty Bolger opened the door cautiously and peered out. A feeling of fear had been growing on him all day. He was unable to rest or go to bed. There was a brooding threat in the breathless night air. As he stared out into the gloom, a black shadow moved under the trees. The gate seemed to open of its own accord and close again without a sound. Terror seized him. He shrank back, and for a moment he stood trembling in the hall. Then he shut and locked the door. The night deepened. There came the soft sound of horses led with stealth along the lane. Outside the gate they stopped, and 3 black figures entered, like shades of night creeping across the ground. One went to the door, one went to the corner of the house on either side. And there they stood, as still as the shadows of stones, while night went slowly on. The house and the quiet trees seemed to be waiting breathlessly. There was a faint stir in the leaves, and a cock crowed far away. The cold hour before dawn was passing. The figure by the door moved. In the dark, without moon or stars, a drawn blade gleamed, as if a chill light had been unsheathed. There was a blow, soft but heavy, and the door shuddered. "Open, in the name of Mordor," said a voice thin and menacing. At a second blow the door yielded and fell back, with timbers burst and lock broken. The black figures passed swiftly in. At that moment, among the trees nearby, a horn rang. It rent the night like fire on a hilltop. "Awake, fear, fire, foes, awake!" Fatty Bolger had not been idle. As soon as he saw the dark shades creep in from the garden, he knew that he must run for it or perish. And run he did. Out the back door, through the garden and over the fields. When he reached the nearest house, more than a mile away, He collapsed at the doorstep. No, 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 he was crying. No, not me. I haven't got it. It was some time before anyone could make out what he was babbling about. At last they got the idea that enemies were in Buckland, some strange invasion from the old forest, and then they lost no more time. Fear, fire, foes. The brandy bugs were blowing the horn call of Buckland that had not been sounded for 100 years, not since the white wolves came in the fell winter when the brandywine was frozen over. Awake, awake! Far away answering horns were heard. The alarm was spreading. The black figures fled from the house. One of them let fall a hobbit cloak on the step as he ran. In the lane the noise of hoofs broke out, and gathering to a gallop, went hammering away into the darkness. All about Crick Hollow there was sounds of horns blowing, and voices crying, and feet running. But the black riders rode like a gale to the north gate. Let the little people blow. Sauron would deal with them later. Meanwhile, they had another errand. They knew now that the house was empty and the ring had gone. They rode down the guards at the gate and vanished from the Shire. In the early night, Frodo woke from a deep sleep, suddenly as if some sound or presence had disturbed him. He saw that Strider was sitting alert in his chair. His eyes gleamed in the light of fire, which had been tended and was burning brightly. But he made no sign or movement. Frodo soon went to sleep again, but his dreams were again troubled with the noise of wind and of galloping hoofs. The wind seemed to be curling round the house and shaking it, and far off he heard a horn blowing wildly. He opened his eyes and heard a cock crowing lustily in the inn-yard. Strider had drawn the curtains and pushed back the shutters with a clang. The first grey light of day was in the room, and the cold air was coming through the open window. As soon as Strider had roused them all, he led the way to their bedrooms. When they saw them, they were glad that they had taken his advice. The windows had been forced open and were swinging, and the curtains were flapping. The beds were tossed about, and the bolsters slashed and flung open the floor. The brown mat was torn to pieces. That one is cute. Strider immediately went to fetch the landlord. Poor Mr. Butterbur looked sleepy and frightened. He had hardly closed his eyes all night, so he said. But he had never heard a sound. Never has such a thing happened in my time. In my time, he cried, raising his hands in horror. Guests unable to sleep in their beds, and good bolsters ruined and all. What are we coming to? I appreciate that. Dark times, said Strider. But for the present, you may be left in peace when you have got rid of us. We will leave at once. Never mind about breakfast, a drink, and a bite standing will have to do. We shall be packed in a few minutes. Mr. Butterbur hurried off to see that the ponies were got ready. Now I lost it. And to fetch them a bite. But very soon he came back in dismay. The ponies had vanished. The stable doors had all been opened in the night, and they were gone. Not only Mary's ponies, but every other horse and beast in the place. Frodo was crushed by the news. How could they hope to reach Rivendell on foot, pursued by mounted enemies? They might as well set out for the moon. Strider sat silent for a while, looking at the hobbits as if he was weighing up their strength and courage. Ponies would not help us to escape, horsemen, he said at last, thoughtfully, as if he guessed what Frodo had in mind. We should not go much slower on foot. Not on the roads that I mean to take. I was going to walk in any case. It is the food and the stores that troubles me. We cannot count on getting anything to eat between here and Rivendell, except what we take with us. And we ought to take plenty to spare, for we may be delayed or forced to go roundabout, far out of the direct way. How much are you prepared to carry on your backs? As much as we must, said Pippin with a sinking heart, but trying to show that he was tougher than he looked, or felt. I can carry enough for two, said Sam defiantly. Can't everything be done, Mr. Butterbur? Asked Frodo. Can't we get a couple of ponies in the village, or even one just for baggage? I don't suppose we could hire them, but we might be able to buy them, he added doubtfully, wondering if he could afford it. I doubt it, said the landlord unhappily. The 2 or 3 riding ponies that were in Bree were stabled in my yard, and they are gone. As for other animals, horses or ponies for draught, or what not, there are very few of them in Bree, and they won't be for sale. But I'll do what I can. I'll rout out Bob and send him round as soon as he may be. Yes, said Strider reluctantly. You had better do that. I'm afraid we shall try to get one pony at least. But so ends all hope of starting early and slipping away quietly. We might as well have blown a horn to announce our departure. That was a part of the plan, no doubt. There is one crumb of comfort, said Mary, and more than a crumb, I hope. We can have breakfast while we wait, and sit down to it. Let's get hold of Nob. Let's see, how far is this chapter? Ooh, this is a long chapter today. Ugh. In the end, there was more than 3 hours delay. Bob came back with the report that no horse or pony was to be got for love or money in the neighborhood, except one. Bill Fernie had one that he might possibly sell. A poor, old, half-starved creature it is, said Bob, but he won't part with it for less than thrice its worth, seeing how you are placed. Not if I know Bill Fernie. Bill Fernie, said Frodo. Isn't there some trick? Wouldn't the beast bolt back to him with all our stuff, or help in tracking us, or something? I wonder, said Strider, but I cannot imagine any animal running home to him once it got away. I fancy this is only an afterthought of kind Master Furnace, just a way of increasing his profits from the affair. The chief danger is that the poor beast is probably at death's door, but there does not seem any choice. What does he want for it? Bill Furnace's price was 12 silver pennies, and that was indeed at least 3 times the pony's value in those parts. It proved to be a bony, underfed, and dispirited animal, but it did not look like dying just yet. Mr. Boddybear paid for it himself and offered Mary another 18 pence as some compensation for the lost animals. He was an honest man, and well off as things were reckoned and be. But 30 silver pennies was a sore blow to him, and being cheated by Bill Ferny made it harder to bear. As a matter of fact, he came out on the right side in the end. It turned out later than that only one horse had actually been stolen. The others had been driven off and had bolted in terror, and were found wandering in different corners of the Breland. Mary's ponies had escaped altogether, and eventually, having a good deal of sense, they made their way to the downs in search of Fatty Lumpkin. So they came under the care of Tom Bombadil for a while, and were well off. But when news of the events at Bree came to Tom's ears, he sent them to Mr. Butterbur, who thus got 5 good beasts at a very fair price. They had to work harder in Bree, but Bob treated them well. So on the whole, they were lucky. They missed a dark and dangerous journey, but they never came to Rivendell. However, in the meanwhile, for all Mr. Butterburn knew, his money was gone for good. Or for bad. And he had other troubles, for there was a great commotion as soon as the remaining guests were astir and heard news of the raid on the inn. The southern travelers had lost several horses and blamed the innkeeper loudly until it became known that one of their own number had also disappeared in the night. None other than Bill Furney's squint-eyed companion. Suspicion fell on him at once. So are we gonna drop again, people? Come on, let's drop. There is a patate for you, Stevie. There's a patate. Get the patate. Andrea, get the patate. Just write exclamation mark, take 65. And you get the patate. You can get all my patates, Mr. Thart. Then you can make me food. Yeah, you can't take it yourself. Nice, Andrea. Nice. Damn. Stevie just hitting it off. Aw, and Steve and Miss Deathheart landed on top of each other. Yeah, it was a close one. This was a very close one. A patate? That's a potato, but in here it's a patate. So yeah, everyone goes for the patate today, and it's amazing. And Andrea, if you haven't seen it yet, you can see the bookmarks that I have ordered from May, which is my bookmark maker. This is one of 3 she have made for this series of books. So when we get to the next series of books, she will make for the whole series again. Mm. So this one, I think you can guess it, but it's for the second book. Yeah, everything you see in the bookmark is something which happens or have like strings drawn from the book. And here we have the last one. The Return of the King. Yeah. 2 seconds, people. I need to get some of this blanket off me. Because this shit is fucking warm. Mm. There we go. So yeah, it will be that for every book we start with, she will get the back of here. And then she will make um for every book. Miss Stepford, she wants to hear me laugh. And I know you do too. Imagine depriving Andrea of my laugh. Well, there you go. That was 2-3-1 from me. Yeah, I'm generous today because it's Easter. And here you have a bun and it's staring at you. Eh. But now we go on with the book. If you pick up with a horse thief and bring him to my house, said Butterbur angrily, you ought to pay for all the damages yourself and not come shouting at me. Go and ask Fernie where your handsome friend is. But it all appeared that he was nobody's friend, and nobody could recollect when he had joined the party. And now we have Mr. Thorpe back. This is very normal. I think her biggest combo is 9 at the moment. So yeah, he is very, very happy for my laugh. Oh, thank you for saying that, Andrea. There, there. Okay, so now we have a combo of 10 in total. Hi, Nikki. Welcome back. Nice to see you. After their breakfast, the hobbits had to repack and get together further supplies for the longer journey they were now expecting. It was close on 10 o'clock before they at last got off. By that time, the whole of Bree was buzzing with excitement. Frodo's vanishing trick, the appearance of the Black Horseman, the robbing of the stables, and not least the news that Strider the Ranger had joined the mysterious hobbits, made such a tale as would last for many uneventful years. Most of the inhabitants of Bree and Staddle, and many even from Cumbie and Archet, were crowded in the road to see the travellers start. The other guests in the inn were at the door or hanging out the windows. Strider had changed his mind and had decided to leave Bree by the main road. Any attempts to set off across country at once would only make matters worse. Half the inhabitants would follow them to see what they were up to and to prevent them from trespassing. They said farewell to Nob and Bob and took leave of Mr. Butterbur with many thanks. Yeah, I'm appalled as well. Very appalled. They weren't having second breakfast. What the F is that? Holy hell. So, Miss Deathheart, your command works again. I hope we shall meet again. I hope we shall meet again someday when things are merry once more, said Frodo. I should like nothing better than to stay in your house in peace for a while. They tramped off, anxious and downhearted, under the eyes of the crowd. Not all the faces were friendly, nor all the words that were shouted, but Strider seemed to be held in awe by most of the Brelanders. Well, you can do that, Nikki. I have no issue with that. If you feel like sleeping, that's what you do. It's a place for relaxation and for a reset of the week. And those that he stared at shut their mouths and drew away. He walked in front with Frodo, next came Merry and Pippin, and last came Sam leading the pony, which was laden with as much of their baggage as they had the heart to give it, but already it looked less dejected, as if it approved of the change in its fortunes. Sam was chewing an apple thoughtfully. He had a pocket full of them, a parting present from Nob and Bob. Apples for walking, and a pipe for sitting, he said. But I reckon I'll miss them both before long. It's nice when it rains in the summer because then all the pollen, which I'm allergic to, is gonna be washed away and slammed down to the ground, so I can actually go and breathe like a normal person. The hobbits took no notice of the inquisitive heads that peeped out of the doors or popped over the walls and fences as they passed. But as they drew near to the further gate, Frodo saw a dark, ill-kept house behind a thick hedge, the last house in the village. In one of the windows he caught a glimpse of a sallow face with sly, slanting eyes, but it vanished at once. So that's where that southerner is hiding, he thought. He looks more than half like a goblin. Over the hedge another man was staring boldly. He had heavy black brows, and dark scornful eyes. His large mouth curled in a sneer. He was smoking a short black pipe. As they approached, he took it out of his mouth and spat. "Morning, Longshanks," he said. "Off early? Found some friends at last?" Strider nodded, but he did not answer. "Morning, little friends," he said to the others. "I suppose you know who you've been taken up with. That stick at Nord, Strider, that is. Though I've heard other names not so pretty. Watch out tonight. And you, Sammy, don't go ill-treating my poor old pony." Ha! He spat again. Sam turned quickly. "And you, Fernie," he said. "Put your ugly face out of sight, or it will get hurt." With a sudden flick, quick as lightning, an apple left his hand and hit Bill square on the nose. He ducked too late, and cursed came from behind the hedge. "Waste of a good apple," said Sam regretfully, and strode on. At last they left the village behind. The escort of children and stragglers that had followed them got tired and turned back to the south gate. Passing through, they kept on along the road for some miles. It bent to the left, curving back into its eastward line, and it would round the feet of Bree Hill, and then it began to run swiftly downwards into the wooded country. To the left they could see some of the houses and hobbit holes of Stattle on the gentle southern and eastern slopes of the hill. Down in a deep hollow away north of the road, there were wisps of rising smoke that showed where Combe lay. Archet was hidden in the trees beyond. It bent to the left, curving back into its eastward line as it rounded the feet of Bree Hill. So yes, I said it bent to the left. Did it also take an eastward path afterwards? You are not getting banned ever for those comments. Oh. As long as I find those comments funny, you will never get banned. After the road had run down some way and had left Bree standing tall and brown behind, they came on a narrow track that led off towards the north. "This is where we leave the open and take to cover," said Strider. "Not a shortcut, I hope," said Pippin. "Our last shortcut through the woods nearly ended in disaster." "Ah, but you had not got me with you then," laughed Strider. "My cuts, short or long, don't go wrong." He took a look up and down the road. No one was in sight, and he led the way quickly down towards the wooded valley. His plan, as far as they could understand it without knowing the country, was to go towards Orchard at first, but to bear right and pass it on the east, and then to steer as straight as he could over the wildlands to Weathertop Hill. In that way, they would, if all went well, cut off a great loop of the road, which further on bent southwards to avoid the Midgewater marshes. But of course, they would have to pass through the marshes themselves, and Strider's description of them was not encouraging. However, in the meanwhile, walking was not unpleasant. Indeed, if it had not been for the disturbing events of the night before, they would have enjoyed this part of the journey better than any up to that time. The sun was shining, clear but not too hot. The woods in the valley were still leafy and full of color, and seemed peaceful and wholesome. Strider guided them comfortably among the many crossing paths. Although left to themselves, they would soon have been at a loss. He was taking a wandering course with many turns and doublings, to put off any pursuit. "Bill Fernie will have watched where we left the road for certain," he said, "though I don't think he will follow us himself. He knows the land round here well enough, but he knows he is not a match for me in the wood. It is what he may tell others that I'm afraid of. I don't suppose they are far away. If they think we have made for Archet, so much better." Whether because of Strider's skill or for some reason, this and now it ends. Come on, people. The budgets are back to place. That's what Bill brought back in shape. That the rock bends the mat. The mat. The shore. That's an hour and every door. That's the better than basketball. That's the basketball. That's been on an episode. Oh my god! well, he's here. That was 10 seconds too early, else you would have had "he's here." Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. Oh my god, Miss Deathheart could actually land today. Damn. And Toomey did not. So how is everyone, and what did Six do on his stream? Was it some gaming, or was it some arting? I think it was arting, if I remember correctly, but who fucking knows? to me, my memory is like it's as gone as the muffin in this holder. It's just non-existent. So, what did we end up at actually doing? It was some art. I see. So, how much can we see? Yeah, can we see what it ended up with? Now we have everyone in here. Oh, hi Kimmy. Didn't see you there. Haha, Mr. Thor. I still have one left. No, I'm not Mr. Thor. Well, if Six uploads it, I would very much love to see what we are doing or what you have been doing today. Yeah, my mom is the muffin bun bun. Um, you can see the bun bun. Six, you would have to DM me with it. I have links turned off because I have too many people coming in and just throwing links to left and right, and I have no fucking idea with this. Yeah. So just write me on Discord. I know you can. um, yeah. So I have just waved to you, Six. So you can actually DM me. What do you need, Andrea? What do you need? And Six, you get a free choice between a bun bun laugh or a dance. Oh, we can also see Anki Bun Bun. 2 seconds, then I will be back with Anki Bun Bun. Here is Anki Bun Bun, and we all love Anki Bun Bun. Anki Bun Bun is adorable and is one of the very nice bun buns that we have in here. That is actually quite nice. So let's open this and let's show everyone this. There we go. So everyone, holy fuck, that was big. Hey, stop that. So this is what Six have made and his stream have made today. I think it's very, very great. Yeah, it's a big file. Yeah, I really agree, Census. So everyone who haven't followed Six, I suggest you do it because he and his stream is a very amazing set of artists. Yeah, that one. Oh, that is just Toomey when she's pissed. You go for my ghost, I fucking kill you. Ooh, who made this lovely looking submarine? That's Dan. Nice. Was it also Dan? Wasn't it also Dan who made this? Yeah, I really love that one. Even though I don't like Fallout myself, I really like this one. And that is 100% 6 because nobody marks things like 6. Yeah, me too. As long as it is in English, I can read things, and as long as I can read it on stream, of course. So who did this one? I see Homer a little bit stressed out that there's a bonbon egg on beneath him. Ooh, hi Sasha. Hi. Ooh, Kimmy. Always turning out with the demons. Nice. That is very pretty. Oh, you don't need a shower. You can just go outside, Andrea. And who made this? I can see. Can't see who made this. Ooh. Damn. Oh yeah. That one. So Twitch got pissed at me. So yeah. Ooh, nice. Yes, you did, Mr. Thrart. Yes, you did. But can anyone from Six's stream tell me who made this one? Oh, hi Shannon. Long time since I have seen you. How's it going? So who made the nuclear donut? Avios Taco Club. Oh. Oh, it says right there. Yeah. And then we have this. Who made the exploding Helldivers Easter egg? Damn. Well, to be honest, my life have been in shambles. But here we are, and we are doing a lot of amazing things, and just taking a reset of the week and sharing it with a lot of amazing people. And thank you for the follow, Miss MK came out brain not braining. Yeah, I want the ghost if it comes with the Toomey doll. Then I can make them sit on my stream here, just waiting for me to start. Yeah, I always love to see what people are doing. I really I really appreciate the sharing. Hi Brock, welcome in. I'm not even gonna comment on that, Mr. Thord. What is it you are saying? Do you want both Ghosty and Toomey to be stuffed? Interesting. Oh, hi Water Dragon. Hi. Welcome in. It's very nice to see you. To me, just being to me. Oh no, not this. Yeah, guys, did you know Tumi was actually vending for the first time in a long time yesterday? She posted it all on her Instagram, and it's a damn amazing story. But I think it's only up for today, for the rest of the rest of my today at least. So go check her out. It's the same name on Instagram. Yeah, I guess that when I didn't see you in Six's stream from the start. But now we will go back to reading the rest of the chapter because I have a lot of pages left to go, and usually I only have like 40 minutes left. So here we go, and I hope you will enjoy just listening to me reading for you and just having an amazing rest of your day. Whether because of Strider's skill or for some other reason, they saw no sign and heard no sound of any other living thing all that day. Neither two-footed, except birds, nor four-footed, except one fox and a few squirrels. The next day they began to steer a steady course eastwards, and still all was quiet and peaceful. On the third day out from Bree, they came out of the chetwood. The land had been falling steadily ever since they turned aside from the road, and they now entered a wide, flat expanse of country much more difficult to manage. They were far beyond the borders of the Bree land, out in the pathless wilderness and drawing near to the Midgeward marshes. The ground now became damp and in places boggy, and here and there they came up upon pools and wide stretches of reeds and rushes filled with the warbling of little birds. Ooh, hi Kens! Yeah, I will stretch, and I just checked my posture, and it was shit. And I will also hydrate. Ugh. Well, then go get some to drink. Well, Sasha, that is what this stream is for. As I usually say, if you need to rest, if you want to sleep to my stream, if you just want to sit here and just look at my screen while I'm reading, or at your screen while I'm reading, that's also fine. I'm all okay with that. But if you want to chat, you're also welcome to do that. They had to pick their way carefully to keep both dry-footed and on the proper course. At first, they made fair progress, but as they went on, the passage became slower and more dangerous. The marshes were bewildering and treacherous, and there was no permanent trail, even for rangers to find through their shifting quagmires. The flies began to torment them, and the air was full of clouds of tiny midges that crept up their sleeves and breeches and into their hair. Ooh, that sounds nice. So when do we get to see those sexy pics of Kens from the beach? I am being eaten alive, cried Pippin. Midge water. There are more midges than water. What do they live on when they can't get Hobbit? Asked Sam, scratching his neck. They spent a miserable day in this lonely and unpleasant country. Their camping place was damp, cold, and uncomfortable, and the biting insects would not let them sleep. There were also abominable creatures haunting the reeds, and tussocks that from the sound of them were evil relatives of the crickets. Hmm. If you want to talk about it, Sasha, you can just DM me. I'm all okay with it. Oh, thank you for the follow or for the supplicants. I really appreciate that. There were thousands of them, and they squeaked all round, break neck, unceasingly all night until the hobbits were nearly frantic. Ooh, and look, Kent's also got a founder's badge. Isn't it pretty? The next day, the fourth, was little better, and the night almost as comfortless, though the Neckbreakers, as Sam called them, had been left behind. The midges still pursued them. As Frodo lay, tired but unable to close his eyes, it seemed to him that far away there came a light in the eastern sky. It flashed and faded many times. It was not the dawn, for that was still some hours off. What is the light? He said to Strider, who had risen and was standing, gazing ahead into the night. I do not know, Strider answered. It is too distant to make out. It is like lightning that leaps up from the hilltops. Oh, thank you for the gifted sub to Brock as well. We have a lot of new bonbons in here. I really appreciate that. A lot of new bonbons. Yeah, the bonbons are really multiplying. I love it. A lot of bonbons. That's what we love. Mm. It is the lightning that leaps up from the hilltops. Frodo lay down again, but for a long while he could still see the white flashes, and against them the tall dark figure of Strider, standing silent and watchful. At last he passed into uneasy sleep. They really do. Miss Deathheart, what is it with you and dropping all of those patates today? Nice, Sasha. Nice. A fast and quick take. It's because you're the first one to drop. Ooh, what is that? It's a potato. Patate. Ooh, damn. People are going hard today. And Toomey just pushing people steadily out of the zone. And we have Stevie and Brock. Nice! Stevie and Brock landing, with Stevie having the highest score. Very nice, everyone. Very nice. Get out of the way! You are a fresh bonbon, but did you know bonbons that do not go into showers? If you shower a bonbon, you can actually kill it. Yeah. I bet most of you didn't know that. So never shower your bonbon, or I will send Danger Bonbon, or also called Miss Deathheart, and she will torture you. Maybe you are. But that would just mean that you licked yourself more. That sounded weird. They had not gone far on the fifth day, when they left the last straggling pools and reed beds of the marshes behind them. The land before them began steadily to rise again. Away in the distance, eastward, they could now see a line of hills. The highest of them was at the right of the line and a little separated from the others. It had a conical top, slightly flattened by the summit. That is Weathertop, said Strider. Death? What is death? The old road, which we have left far on our rights, runs to the south of it, and passes not far from its foot. We might reach it by noon tomorrow. If we go straight towards it, I suppose we had better do so. What do you mean, asked Frodo. I mean, when we do get there, it is not certain that we shall find. It is close to the road. That is good, Sasha. That is good. But surely we were hoping to find Gandalf there. Yes, but hope is faint. If he comes this way at all, he may not pass through Bree, and so he may not know what we are doing. And anyway, unless by luck we arrive almost together, we shall miss one another. It will not be safe for him or for us to wait there for long. If the riders fail to find us in the wilderness, they are likely to make it for Weathertop themselves. It commands a wide view all round. Indeed, there are many birds and beasts in this country that could see us as we stand here from that hilltop. Not all the birds are to be trusted, and there are other spies more evil than they are. The hobbits looked anxiously at the distant hills. Sam looked up to the pale sky, fearing to see hawks or eagles hovering over them with bright, unfriendly eyes. You do make me feel uncomfortable and lonesome, Strider, he said. What do you advise us to do? Asked Frodo. I think, answered Strider slowly, as if he was not quite sure. I think the best thing is to go as straight eastwards from here as we can, to make for the line of the hills, not for Weathertop. There we can strike a path I know that runs at their feet. It will bring us to Weathertop from the north, and less openly. Then we shall see what we shall see. All that day they paddled along until the cold and early evening came down. The land became drier and more barren, but mists and vapors lay behind them on the marshes. A few melancholy birds were piping and wailing, until the round red sun sank slowly into the western shadows. Then an empty silence fell. The hobbits thought of the soft light of the sunset glancing through the cheerful windows of Backend far away. At the day's end, they came to a stream that wandered down from the hills to lose itself in the stagnant marshland, and they went up along its banks while the light lasted. It was already night when they at last halted and made their camp under some stunted alder trees by the shores of the stream. Ahead there loomed now against the dusky sky of the bleak and the treeless backs of the hills. That night they set a watch, and Strider, it seemed, did not sleep at all. The moon was waxing, and in the early night hours a cold grey light lay on the land. Next morning they set out again soon after sunrise. There was a frost in the air, and the sky was a pale clear blue. The hobbits felt refreshed, as if they had had a night of unbroken sleep. Already they were getting used to much walking on short commons, shorter at any rate than what in the Shire they would have thought barely enough to keep them on their legs. Pippin declared that Frodo was looking twice the hobbit that he had been. Very odd, said Frodo, tightening his belt, considering that there is actually a good deal less of me. I hope the thinning process will not go on indefinitely, or I shall become a wraith. Do not speak of such things, said Strider quickly, and with surprising earnestness. The hills drew nearer. They made an undulating ridge, often rising almost to 1,000 feet, and here and there falling again to the low clefts and passes leading into the eastern land beyond. Along the crest of the bridge, the hobbits could see what looked to be the remains of a green-grown walls and dikes, and in the cliffs there still stood the ruins of old works of stone. By night they had reached the feet of the westward slopes, and there they camped. It was the night of the 5th of October, and they were 6 days out from Bree. In the morning they found, for the first time since they had left Chetwood, a track plain to see. They turned right and followed it southwards. It ran cunningly, taking a line that seemed chosen so as to keep as much hidden as possible. Uh, as much keep as much as possible from the view both of the hilltops above of the flats to the west. It dived into dells and hugged steep banks, and where it passed over flatter and more open ground on either side of it, there were lines of large boulders and hewn stone that screened the travelers almost like a hedge. I wonder who made this path, and what for, said Mary, as they walked along one of the avenues, where the stones were unusually large and closely set. I am not sure that I like it. It has a, well, rather a barrow with whitish look. Is there any barrow on Weathertop? No, there is no barrow on Weathertop, nor on any of these hills, answered Strider. The men of the West did not live here, though in the latter days they defended the hills for a while against the evil that came out of Angmar. This path was made to serve the forts along the walls, but long before, in the first days of the North Kingdom, they built a great watchtower on Weathertop, a Monsul, they called it. It was burned and broken, and nothing remains of it now but a tumbled ring like a rough crown on the old hill's head. Yet once it was tall and fair. It is told that Elendil stood there watching for the coming of Gil-galad out of the west in the last days of the alliance. The hobbits gazed at Strider. It seemed that he was learned in old lore, as well as in the ways of the wild. Who was Gil-galad? Asked Mary, but Strider did not answer, and seemed to be lost in thought. Suddenly a low voice murmured, Gil-galad was an elven king, of him the harpers sadly sing, the last whose realm was fair and free, between the mountains and the sea. His sword was long, his lance was keen, his shining helm afar was seen. The countless stars of heaven's field were mirrored in his silver shield. But long ago he rode away, and where he dwells none can say. For into darkness fell his star, in Mordor where the shadows are. The others turned in amazement, for the voice was Sam's. Don't stop, said Mary. That's all I know, stammered Sam, blushing. I learned it from Mr. Bilbo when I was a lad. He used to tell me tales like that, knowing how I always want for hearing about elves. It was Mr. Bilbo as taught me my letters. He was mighty book learned, was old, was dear old Mr. Bilbo, and he wrote poetry. He wrote what I have just said. He did not make it up, said Strider. It is part of the lay that is called the Fall of Gil-galad, which is in an ancient tongue. Bilbo must have translated it. I never knew that. There was a lot more, said Sam. All about Mordor. I didn't learn that part. It gave me the shivers. I never thought I should be going that way myself. Going to Mordor, cried Pippin. I hope it won't come to that. Do not speak that name so loudly, said Strider. It was already midday when they drew near the southern end of the path and saw before them, in the pale clear light of the October sun, a grey-green bank leading up like a bridge onto the northward slope of the hill. They decided to make for the top at once, while the daylight was broad. Concealment was no longer possible, and they could only hope that no enemy or spy was observing them. Nothing was to be seen moving on the hill. If Gandalf was anywhere about, there was no sign of him. On the western flank of Weathertop, they found a sheltered hollow, at the bottom of which there was a bowl-shaped dell with grassy sides. There they left Sam and Pippin with the pony and their packs and luggage. The other three went on. After half an hour's plodding climb, Strider reached the crown of the hill. Frodo and Merry followed, tired and breathless. The last slope had been steep and rocky. On the top they found, as Strider had said, a wide ring of ancient stonework, now crumbling or covered with age-long grass. But in the center a cairn of broken stone had been piled. They were blackened as if with fire. About them the turf was burned to the roots, and all within the ring the grass was scorched and shriveled as if flame had swept the hilltops. But there was no sign of any living things. Standing upon the rim of the ruined circle, they saw all round below them a wide prospect, for the most part of lands empty and featureless, except for patches of woodland away to the south, beyond which they caught here and there the glint of distant water. Beneath them, on the southern side, there ran like a ribbon the old road, coming out of the west and winding up and down until it faded behind a ridge of dark land to the east. Nothing was moving on it. Following its line eastward with their eyes, they saw the mountains. The nearer foothills were brown and somber. Behind them stood taller shapes of grey, and behind those again were high white peaks glimmering among the clouds. Well, here we are, said Mary, and very cheerless and uninviting it looks. There was no water and no shelter, and no sign of Gandalf. But I don't blame him for not waiting, if he ever came here. I wonder, said Strider, looking round thoughtfully. Even if he was a day or two behind us at Bree, he would have arrived here first. He can ride very swiftly when need presses. Suddenly he stooped and looked at the stone on the top of the cairn. It was flatter than the others, and wider, as if it had escaped the fire. He picked it up and examined it, turning it with it in his fingers. This has been handled recently, he said. What do you think of these marks? On the flat underside, Frodo saw some scratches. There seemed to be a stroke, a dot, and three more strokes, he said. The stroke on the left might be a G rune. With thin branches, he said. It might be a sign left by Gandalf, though one cannot be sure. Mm. The scratches are fine, and they certainly look fresh, but the marks might mean something quite different and have nothing to do with us. Rangers use runes, and they come here sometimes. What could they mean, even if Gandalf made them? Asked Merry. I should say, answered Strider, that they stood for G3 and were signed that Gandalf was here on October the 3rd. That is 3 days ago now. It would also have shown that he was in a hurry and danger was at hand, so that he had no time or did not dare to write anything longer or plainer. If that is so, we must be wary. I wish we could feel sure that he made these marks, whatever they may mean, said Frodo. It would be a great comfort to know that he was on the way, in front of us or behind us. Perhaps, said Strider. For myself, I believe that he was here and was in danger. There have been scorching flames here, and now the light that we have seen, that we saw 3 nights ago in the eastern sky, comes back to my mind. I guess that he was attacked on this hilltop, but with what result I cannot tell. He is no longer here, and we must now look after ourselves and make our own way to Rivendell. As best as we can. Oh, are you getting tired, Andrea? Usually I stop at 2 hours, but I think we're gonna finish the chapter today. Oh, that is great. How far is Rivendell? Asked Merry, gazing round warily. The world looked wild and wide from Rivertop. I don't know if the road has ever been measured in miles beyond the Forsaken Inn. A day's journey east of Bree, answered Strider. Some say it is so far, and some say otherwise. It is a strange road, and folk are glad to reach their journey's end. Whether the time is long or short, but I know how long it would take me on my own feet, with fair weather and no ill fortune. 12 days from here to the ford of Brunnen, where the road crosses the Loudwater that runs out of Rivendell. That is great. We have at least a fortnight journey before us, for I do not think we shall be able to use the road. A fortnight, said Frodo. A lot may happen in that time. It may, said Strider. That is great, Sasha. It's really the reason I do this. It's for people to actually be able to calm down and reset. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11 pages left. Ooh. 2 seconds, I just need to answer text. um, 9 there. 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 Yeah, that's... There we go. Yeah, I get that, Sasha. I really get that. They stood for a while, silent on the hilltop, near its southward edge. In that lonely place, Frodo for the first time fully realized his homelessness and danger. He wished bitterly that his fortune had left him in the quiet and beloved Shire. He stared down at the hateful road leading back westward to his home. Suddenly he was aware the 2 black speaks were moving slowly along it, going westward. And looking again, he saw 3 others were creeping eastwards to meet them. He gave a cry and clutched Strider's arm. "Look," he said, pointing downwards. What do you guys think it is? I think it has something to do with this. At once, Strider flung himself on the ground behind the ruined circle, pulling Frodo down beside him. Merry threw himself alongside. "What is it?" he whispered. "I do not know, but I fear the worst," answered Strider. Slowly they crawled up to the edge of the ring again and peered through a cleft between 2 jagged stones. The light was no longer bright, for the clear morning had faded, and clouds creeping out of the east had now overtaken the sun. As it began to go down, they could all see the black speaks, but neither Frodo nor Merry could make out the shapes for certain. Yet something told them that there, far below, were black riders assembling on the road beyond the foot of the hill. "Yes," said Strider, whose keener sight left him in no doubt. The enemy is here. Hastily they crept away and slipped down the north side of the hill to find their companions. Sam and Peregrine had not been idle. They had explored the small dell and the surrounding slopes. Not far away, they found a spring of clear water in the hillside, and near it footprint not more than a day or two old. In the dell itself, they found recent traces of fire and other signs of a hasty camp. There were some fallen rocks on the edge of the dell nearest to the hill. Behind them, Sam came upon a small store of firewood nearly stacked. I wonder if old Gandalf has been here, he said to Pippin. Whoever it was put his stuff here meant to come back, it seems. Strider was greatly interested in those discoveries. I wish I had waited and explored the ground down here myself, he said, hurrying off to the spring to examine the footprints. It is just as I feared, he said when he came back. Sam and Pippin have trampled the soft ground, and the marks are spoiled and confused. Rangers have been here lately. It is they who left the firewood behind. But there are also several newer tracks that were not made by rangers. At least one set was made only a day or two ago by heavy boots, at least one. I cannot now be certain, but I think there were many booted feet. He paused and stood in anxious thought. Each of the hobbits saw in his mind a vision of the cloaked and booted riders. If the horsemen had already found the dell, the sooner Strider led them somewhere else, the better. Sam viewed the hollow with great dislike. Now that they had heard news of their enemies on the road, only a few miles away, hadn't we better clear out quick, Mr. Strider? He asked impatiently. It is getting late, and I don't like this hole. It makes my heart sink somehow. Yes, we certainly must decide what to do at once, answered Strider, looking up and considering the time and weather. Well, Sam, he said at last, I do not like this place either, but I cannot think of anywhere better that we could reach before nightfall. At least we are out of sight for the moment, and if we moved, we should be much more likely to be seen by spies. All we could do would be go right out of our way back north on this side of the line of the hills, where the land is much more the same as it is here. The road is watched, but we should have to cross it. If we try to take cover in a thicket away to the south, on the north side of the road beyond the hills, the country is bare and flat for miles. Can riders see? Asked Mary. I mean, they seem usually to have used their noses rather than their eyes, smelling for us, if smelling is the right word, at least in the daylight. But you made us lie down flat when you saw them down below. And now you talk of being seen if we move. I was too careless on the hilltop, answered Strider. I was very anxious to find some signs of Gandalf. But it was a mistake for three of us to go up and stand there for so long. For the black horses can see, and the riders can use men and other creatures as spies, as we found in Bree. They themselves do not see the world of light as we do, but our shapes cast shadows in their minds, which only the noon sun destroys, and in the dark they perceive many signs and forms that they are hidden from us. Then they are most to be feared, and at all times they smell the blood of living things, desiring and hating it too. Senses too, they are other than sights and smells. We can feel their presence. It troubled our hearts as soon as we came here, and before we saw them, they feel ours more keenly. Also, he added, his voice sank to a whisper. The ring draws them. Is there no escape then? Said Frodo, looking round wildly. If I move, I shall be seen and hunted. If I stay, I shall draw them to me. Is Strider laid his hand on his shoulder. There is still hope, he said. You are not alone. Let us take this wood and set it ready for the fire as a sign. There is little shelter or defense here, but fire shall serve for both. Sauron can put fire to his evil uses, as he can call all things, but these riders do not love it, and fear those who wield it. Fire is our friend in the wilderness. Maybe, muttered Sam. It's also a good way of saying, here we are, as I think of Bar shouting. Down in the lowest and most sheltered corner of the dell, they lit a fire and prepared a meal. The shades of evening began to fall, and it grew colder. They were suddenly aware of great hunger, for they had not eaten anything since breakfast. But they dared not to make more than a frugal supper. The lands ahead were empty of all save birds and beasts, unfriendly places deserted by all races of the world. Rangers passed at times beyond the hills, but they were few and did not stay. Other wanderers were rare and of evil sort. Trolls might stray down at times out of the northern valleys of the misty mountains. Only on the road would travelers be found, most often dwarfs hurrying along on business of their own, and with no help and few words to spare for strangers. I don't see how our food can be made to last, said Frodo. We have been careful enough in the last few days, and this supper is no feast. But we have used more than we thought. If we had 2 weeks still to go, up and perhaps more. There's food in the wild, said Starder, berry, root, and herbs. And I have some skill as hunter as needed. You will not be afraid of starving before winter comes. But gathering and catching food is long and very work, and we need haste. So tighten your belts and think with hope of the tables of Elrond's house. The cold increased as darkness came on. Peering out from the edge of the dell, they could see nothing but grey land, now vanishing quickly into shadow. The sky above had cleared again and was slowly filled with twinkling stars. Frodo and his companions huddled round the fire, wrapped in every garment and blanket that they possessed. But Strider was content with a single cloak and sat a little apart, drawing thoughtfully at his pipe. As night fell and the light of the fire began to shine out brightly, he began to tell them tales to keep their minds from fear. He knew many stories and legends of long ago, of elves and men, and the good and evil deeds of the elder days. They wondered how old he was, and where he had learned all this lore. Tell us of Gilgalad, said Mary suddenly, when he paused at the end of a story of the elf kingdoms. Do you know more of that old lady that you spoke of? I do indeed, answered Strider. So does Frodo, for it concerns us closely. Merry and Pippin looked at Frodo, who was staring into the fire. I know only the little that Gandalf has told me, said Frodo slowly. Gil-galad was the last of the great elf kings of Middle-earth. Gil-galad is starlight in the tongue. With Elendil the elf friend, he went to the land of... No, said Strider, interrupting. I do not think that tale should be told now, with the servants of the enemy at hand. If we win through to the house of Elrond, you may hear it there, told in full. Then tell us some other tale of the old days, begged Sam. A tale about the elves before the fading time. I would dearly like to hear more about the elves. The dark seems to press round so close. Ugh. I will tell you the tale. I will tell you the tale of Tinuviel, said Strider, in a brief, for it is a long tale of which the end is not known. And there are none now, except Elrond, that remember it all right as it was told of old. It is a fair tale, though it is sad, as are the tales of Middle-earth, and yet it may lift up your heart. He was silent for some time, and then he began to speak, to chant softly. The leaves were long, the grass was green, the hemlock umbels tall and fair, and in the glade a light was seen of stars and shadows shimmering. Tinuviel was dancing there to music of a pipe unseen, and light of stars was in her hair and in her raiment glimmering. Their Baron came from mountains cold, and lost he wandered on the leaves. And where the elven river rolled, he walked alone and sorrowing. He peered between the hemlock leaves, and saw in wonder flowers of gold upon her mantle and her sleeves, and her hair like shadow following. Enchantment healed his very feet, that over hills were doomed to roam, and forth he hastened strong and fleet, and grasped at moonbeam glistening. Through woven woods in elven home, she lightly fled on dancing feet, and left him lonely still to roam, in the silent forest listening. He heard thereof the flying sound of feet as light as linden leaves, or music welling underground, in our hidden hollows covering. Now withered lay the hemlock's leaves, and one by one with sighing sounds, whispering fell the Beeche's leaves, in the wintry woodland wavering. Hi Steve, welcome in. He sought her ever, wandering far, where leaves of years were thickly strewn, by light of moon and ray of star, in frosty heaven shivering. Her mantle glinted in the moon, as on a hilltop high and far. She danced, and at her feet was strewn a mist of silver quivering. When winter passed, she came again, and her song released the sudden spring. Like rising lark and falling rain, and melting water bubbling. He saw the elven flower spring about her feet and healed again. He longed by her to dance and sing upon the grass untroubling. Again she fled, but swiftly came to Nuviel. He called her by her elvish name, and there she halted listening. One moment she stood, and a spell his voice laid on her. Baron came, and doom fell on Nuviel, that in his arm lay glistening. As Baron looked into her eyes, within the shadows of her hair, the trembling starlight of the skies, he saw them mirrored shimmering. To Nuviel the elven fair, immortal maiden, elven wise, about him cast her shadowy hair, and arms like silver glimmering. Long was the way that fate them bore, o'er stony mountains cold and grey, through halls of iron and darkling door, and woods of nightshade morrowless. The sundering seas between them lay, and yet at last they meet once more. Sorry. And long ago they passed away in the forest singing sorrowless. And now it's time for a little bit to drink. So everyone get your hydration items ready and take a drink with me. Mm. You are very welcome, Stevie, and thank you for being here. 1, 2, 3. We have about 4 pages left today. Strider sighed and paused before he spoke again. That is a song, he said, in the mode that is called Anthrenth among the elves, but is hard to render in our common speech, and this is but a rough echo of it. It tells of the meeting of Baron's son of Barahir and Luthien Tuvnivel. Baron was a mortal man, but Luthien was the daughter of Thingol, a king of elves upon Middle-earth. When the world was young, and she was the fairest maiden that has ever been among the children of this world. As the stars above the mists of the northern lands was her lone loveliness, and in her face was a shining light. In those days, the great enemy of whom Sauron of Mordor was but a servant, dwelt in Angband in the north. And the elves of the west, coming back to Middle-earth, made war upon him to regain the Silmarils, which he has stolen. And the fathers of men aided the elves. But the enemy was victorious, and Barahir was slain, and Beren, escaping through great peril, came over the mountains of terror into the hidden kingdom of Thringol in the forest of Neldoreth. There he beheld Luthien singing and dancing in a glade beside the enchanted river Escardun, and he named her Tunuvil. That is nightingale in the language of old. Many sorrows befell them afterwards, and they were parted long. Tinuvil rescued Beren from the dungeons of Sauron, and together they passed through their great dangers, and cast down even the great enemy from his throne, and took from his iron crown one of the three Silmarils, brightest of all jewels, to be the bride price of Luthien to Thingol, her father. Yet at the last Beren was slain by the wolves that came from the gates of Angband, and he died in the arms of Tunuviel. But she chose mortality, and to die from the world, so that she might follow him. And it sung that they met again beyond the sundering seas, and after a brief time walking alive, once more in the green woods, together they passed long ago. Beyond the confines of this world. So it is that Luthien Tunuvil, alone of the elf kindred, had died indeed and left the world, and they have lost her whom they most loved. But from her lineage of the elf lords of old descended among men, there live still those of whom Luthien was the foremother, and it is said that her line should never fail. Elrond of Rivendell is of that kin, for of Beren and Luthien was born the Orthingle's heir, and of him Elwing the White, whom Arundel wedded. He that set his ship out of the mists of the world into the seas of heaven with the Silmaril upon his brow. And of Arundel came the kings of Numenor, that is Westerners. As Strider was speaking, they watched his strange, eager face, dimly lit in a red glow of the wood fire. His eyes shone, and his voice was rich and deep. Above him was a black starry sky. Suddenly a pale light appeared over the crown of Weathertop behind him. The waxing moon was climbing slowly above the hill that overshadowed them, and the stars above the hilltop faded. The story ended. The hobbits moved and stretched. "Look," said Merry, "the moon is rising. It must be getting late." The others looked up. Even as they did so, they saw on the top of the hill something small and dark against the glimmer of the moonrise. It was perhaps only a large stone, or jutting rocks shone by a pale light. Sam and Mary got up and walked away from the fire. Frodo and Pippin remained seated in silence. Strider was watching the moonlight on the hill intently. All seemed quiet, and still Frodo felt a cold dread creeping over his heart, now that Strider was no longer speaking. He huddled closer to the fire, and at that moment Sam came running back from the edge of the dell. "I don't know what it is," he said, "but I suddenly felt afraid. I durst not go out of this dell for any money. I felt that something was creeping up the slope." "Did you see anything?" asked Frodo, springing to his feet. "No, sir, I saw nothing, but I did not stop to look." "I saw something," said Merry. "I thought I did. away westward where the moonlight was falling on the flats beyond the shadow of the hilltops. I thought there were 2 or 3 black shapes. They seemed to be moving this way. Keep moving, keep close to the fire with your faces outward, cried Strider. Get some of the longest sticks ready in your hands. For a breathless time they sat there, silent and alert, with their backs turned to the wood fire, each gazing into the shadows that encircled them. Nothing happened. There was no sound or movement in the night. Frodo steered, feeling that he must break the silence. He longed to shout aloud. Hush! Whispered Strider. What's that? Gasped Pippin at the same moment. Over the lip of the little dell, on the side away from the hill, they felt rather than saw a shadow rise, one shadow or more than one. They strained their eyes, and the shadow seemed to grow. Soon there could be no doubt 3 or 4 tall black figures were standing there on the slope, looking down at them. So black were they that they seemed like black holes in the deep shade behind them. Frodo thought that he heard a faint hiss of a venomous breath and felt a thin piercing chill. Then the shapes slowly advanced. Terror overcame Pippin and Merry, and they threw themselves flat on the ground. Sam shrank to Frodo's side. Frodo was hardly less terrified than his companions. He was squeaking as if he was bitter cold. But his terror was swallowed up in a sudden temptation to put on the ring. The desire to do this let hold of him, and he could think of nothing else. He did not forget the barrow, nor the message of Gandalf, but something seemed to be compelling him to disregard all warnings, and he longed to yield, not with the hope of escape or of doing anything, either good or bad. He simply felt that he must take the ring and put it on his finger. He could not speak. He felt Sam looking at him, as if he knew that his master was in some great trouble, but he could not run towards him. He shut his eyes and struggled for a while, but resistance became unbearable, and at last he slowly drew out the chain and slipped the ring on the forefinger of his left hand. Immediately, though everything else remained as before, dim and dark, the shapes became terribly clear. He was able to see beneath their black wrappings. There were 5 tall figures, 2 standing on the lip of the dell, 3 advancing. In their white faces burned keen and merciless eyes. Under their mantles were long grey robes. Upon their grey hair were helms of silver. In their haggard hands were swords of steel. Their eyes fell on him and pierced him as they rushed towards him. Desperate, he drew his own sword, and it seemed to him that it flickered red, as if it was a firebrand. 2 of the figures halted. The third was taller than the others. His hair was long and gleaming, and on his helm was a crown. In one hand he held a long sword, in the other a knife. Both the knife and the hand that held it glowed with pale light. He sprang forward and bore down on Frodo. At that moment, Frodo threw himself forward on the ground, and he heard himself crying out aloud, O Elbereth Githornil, At the same time, he struck at the feet of his enemy. A shrill cry rang out in the night, and he felt a pain like a dart of poisoned ice pierce his left shoulder. Even as he swooned, he caught, and through a swirling mist, a glimpse of Strider leaping out of the darkness with a flaming brand of wood in either hand. With the last effort, Frodo, dropping his sword, slipped the ring from his finger and closed his right hand tight upon it. And that was the last for today. I hope you all have enjoyed it, and I will find a place where we can go and raid. Where should we go? Where should we go? Where should we go? Yeah, we should go here. And I will say thank you to you all. And thank you for being here. And I will see you all next week. Remember, the time have changed. So it's now 7 p.m. GMT +2. So I will see you all next Sunday. And I hope you all will have a lovely week. And I hope to see you all next week for another nice session of Lord of the Rings. And again, happy Easter.